let's start with Lab 10, query by example. This is the second thing you'll be dealing with as far as databases and Microsoft Access goes in this semester. So it's called QBE for short. Why do we use it? Well, not everyone has the sufficient technical knowledge of SQL and the ability to use databases. Now, even things we covered in the last lab, those are fairly introductory on the scale of, well, beginner to expert. So, say someone who does not have a technical background, he or she might still want to use Microsoft Access. But SQL commands might just be a little bit over their head. That's where QBE comes in. You take away the SQL commands which we worked with last time and replace it with a graphical user interface. And in Microsoft Access, that's what it looks like. So, a quick glance at it, you see there's a table there, it's called products, and at the bottom, that's the QBE part. So, a basic SQL query consists of, well, select attributes from table and then some conditions and some ways to sort it. So, let's put this out there. Can anyone tell me, just by taking a glance at the screen, what would be the equivalent SQL query for what you see there?
Select product name, cost, unit price from products, order by ascending, I guess also where unit price is less than 10.
Yeah, so just flip the order a bit. Order by comes at the very end, but you got that right. So anything you do in QBE, you can write in SQL. Anything you write in SQL, you can do in QBE, vice versa. Why do we use QBE? Well, as you see here, it's just things you pick out from combo boxes. You don't need to have any formal knowledge of SQL to do this. So this one was fairly easy. Let's skip on over to this one. So, as in SQL where you had where clauses with ands and ors, you can do that in QBE as well. So, in the criteria, if you have multiple things lining up on the same line, that corresponds to an and. So, this roughly translates to select order ID, order date, ship date from orders where ship date is, well, greater than 1st January 2003 and ship country is Germany. Now if you notice, the row corresponding to show, we have this checkbox unchecked. So as discussed last time, things you include in the where clause need not be part of your select statement. It'll still work fine. So the result set of this particular QBE will just have 3 columns. And instead of an and operator, say you want to use or, you will list them on separate lines, like so. So in this case, it's ship date greater than, well, 1st January 2003, or ship country is Germany. And you can mix and match them as much or as little as you need to, well, satisfy the question you're faced with. All right? Moving on, we end up with the like keyword and wildcards. So the asterisk, it can be prefixed with a letter or suffixed with a letter or a phrase. Why do we use this? So in this example, let's take the first one. It ends with an asterisk. What this means is that whatever you're searching for, it starts with the letter A. Now, the last one is A sandwiched by 2 asterisks. Why do we use that? A can be anywhere in whatever you're searching for. So practical uses of this would be you're searching through a database for some sort of product ID, a person's name, a description of something. And you can also include between in your where clause or the criterion. And of course, if you're using dates, they have to be enclosed in hashtags. Now, if you skip back a bit, so all of these were queries done on a single table, like orders, products, so on. You can have multiple tables as part of a QBE. You drag them all in, it will show the relationships between them much like this. So this is effectively an ERD. Looks kind of messy, right? In the sense, it's a whole lot of information. So as a rule, it's probably in your best interest just to drag in as many tables as you need to accomplish a particular query. So this is how you'd go about it. I'll be walking you through this, so don't worry about it. Hey Drew, come on in. And right. So now we have calculated columns. So over the past few labs, we mentioned time and again how we will not have calculated fields as part of our database or our entity. Reason being, exactly this. We can generate it at runtime. So the format for that would be, in this case, we're calling it ext price, followed by a colon. That can be anything. It can be profit, loss, revenues. Really depends on what the problem statement is. The fields you're going to be using as part of your calculation, you should enclose them in box brackets, and they should correspond to one of the attributes present in the table that you just dragged in. Again, we'll be walking you through this. Don't worry about it. You can also concatenate different values using the ampersand. Practical applications of this, I don't know, maybe you want to append a dollar sign to some sort of unit price or total. You might want to select first and last name from the table and combine them as a single result. And then we come to aggregates. So calculated fields return values for every single row that you fetch as part of your result set. But an aggregate gives you a summary of multiple rows. And when I say summary, I mean things like sum, average, account, the minimum value, the maximum value, so on. And you'll be using, well, most if not all of these as part of your assignments. How to get those, I'll be showing it to you. So, any questions so far? If not, we'll go to the in-lab and I'll walk you through how to do these 3 questions. So please open Microsoft Access, specifically the Northwind database. So to create a QBE, first thing you do is head to the Create tab, and then you click on Query Design, much like last time. So last lab, we just closed this out and went straight to SQL view. This time around, we're going to keep this. This is what we're going to be working with for our questions. So the question is, list the company name and country of all customers located in Germany. So the approach is pretty much the same in that you identify the table you're looking for, in this case, customers, and you pick out what the attributes are, company name and country. So let's take customers from the table, select it, click on add. All right. I'm just going to stretch this out to get an idea of what the fields are. Sorry?
Speculating if these are the same exercises from the last time.
Not quite. I think one of them would be, the first one at least.
I think the first one looks very familiar.
The first one is. So this time around, so what are the fields we want? We want company name. We want the country. So it's just pretty much picking them out from combo boxes. Really straightforward stuff. Last, we have a condition. Germany is a string. I'm going to use quotes. Now what I'm going to ask you to do is, if you get the results, at the bottom right of your screen, hit the SQL view, if you can see it. And you notice that Microsoft Access has generated SQL code based on what you gave in as part of your QBE. So, proof that I'm not making this stuff up. Whatever you can do in QBE, you can do in SQL, and the other way around as well. So, for your in-lab, please copy the results into a Word document and we'll check you off as soon as you're done with both of them. And when you close this, you get the option to save it. Please do that. Call it lab 10 in lab 1. And right, let's go to question 2. All right, you guys take the lead on this one. What's the table we're going to be querying in question 2? Sorry? Products, right? What are the attributes we want to select? Okay, that's one. Anything else? What we have after this is a calculated profit. So I'll show you how to do that. So same routine, head to query design and hit products. Okay. So the first one is right there, product name. We're going to select that. Now the one after that, it explicitly says it's a calculated profit. So if you look at the table, you have two fields here. It's called unit price and cost. I'm going to make the assumption that cost corresponds to, say, buying price, and unit price corresponds to selling price. So a profit would be logically selling price minus buying price. So I'm going to type it out here, profit. You can call this whatever you want. It's just field name, colon. That indicates that it's a field that you are typing. Followed by, in box brackets, unit price minus, again in box brackets, cost. Now we're not done, because we have another condition here which says for all products costing between $20 and $30. So we want to do this only for products costing between 20 and 30 bucks. So I'm going to add another field, cost, and the criteria is going to be between 20 and 30. And I'm going to uncheck show simply because the question does not ask me to display the cost. Yeah. All right. So select this, paste it in Word, so I can check you off later. Save the query for your reference. Lab 10 in lab 2. And now we come to the last one. Okay. Now this question does not give you a lot of clues as to, well, what the table is or what fields you want. So far we've only worked with selecting stuff from a single table, right? So report the total quantity that has been ordered for the product Alice Martin, all right? So when faced with questions like this, what you should really be doing is going through your tables and trying to figure out what fields you want. So it talks about total quantity, and it talks about a product by this name. So I'll go to the products table first. You use the navigation toolbar on your left, get to tables, like so, and open up products. So product name is there, which is good. What else do we need? We need quantity, total quantity, something of that sort. So I'm just going to look through the table, and it's not there. Maybe it'll be in orders. Again, nothing really corresponding to quantity. Let's try order details, and that does have something related to quantity, all right? So you need product, you need order details. So let's create that. Let's drag them in, products and order details. You'll notice that there is a relationship between them as indicated by this. And let's see, product name. Also, other neat thing, when you drag in multiple tables, the combo box indicates which table each field belongs to. So it's like products dot attribute name, orders dot attribute name, so on. So I'm going to take product name, and the criterion is Alice Martin. Type that in. That's the easy part. Now we need quantity. That's from the orders table. So the question now asks us for the total quantity. So if you open up order details, you can notice that the same product ID might appear in different orders with different quantities associated with each order. So you need to sum them all up. To do that, head to design, and towards the top you'll see something called totals right here. As soon as you click on that, you get an additional row right below table. So by default it will be called group by. What you're going to do is select the one under quantity and click on sum. The reason we're doing that is because we will ask for the total quantity of that particular product. Yes?
Okay, so I have the order details and products table open, but I don't have the relationship screen. I don't.
Okay, so you have the tables open. So what you need to do is head to create,
Relationship?
query design, and then add them in. So products, add, and then order details.
Then why did I open them if I could just do it like that?
Well, so you don't know what tables you are looking for just by looking at the question. So why you're going through the tables is to figure out, okay, which table has quantity, which table has product name.
Okay.
So just by looking at the question, it was not obvious.
Okay, I understand.
Makes sense?
How do I add totals?
Oh, right. So if you click on design,
Yeah.
yeah, and then there. So an additional row turns up, and by default it's group by. Instead change that to sum for. And I think in one of the assignment questions coming up, you'll be using count or max. I'm not
Okay.
sure. So all right. Now, if you run this, you get a nice, concise result. Now, again, what I want you to do is click on the SQL view this time. And you notice that the query would contain a lot of terms which we did not cover in class, mostly because they are advanced SQL concepts. But the point of showing you this is simply to emphasize that QBE allows you to construct really complex queries without actually having the knowledge of SQL required for that. So things like inner join or joins in general are stuff you learn in, I think, 272 or, well, dedicated SQL classes. All right. So again, if you're done with this, please do copy it into Word. We'll be checking you off shortly. Save the query. Lab 10, lab 3.
So how did you get your sort to show by total? I know you just asked me how to do that.
Design and totals. And then
Oh, sort by and then sum.
yeah, change it to something.
Yep.
Your criteria else one.
Right. Yes.
Product name or class?
You have a question?
I'm done. Are you gonna?
Oh yeah, we'll get to you. Just a minute. Okay. Everyone done with the in-labs?
So
Yep. Okay. So, let's talk about the assignment due for next week. Student answers document available on Blackboard. You're going to be doing questions 1 to 10. Most of them should be fairly straightforward. Use a QBE. Some of them might be a little tricky. You might have to think about it a bit. One that has tripped up students historically is question number 8. So let's talk about this right now. report the order ID, order date, and count the number of order detail lines. So, when you say order detail lines, what do you mean?
Repeat orders.
Yeah. If you're not sure what the question's talking about, take a look at the tables corresponding to it. So, open up Access, open up the order details table. So, if you notice, the order ID repeats several times over, right? Like 10248 appears 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. And each of them has a different product ID, a different unit price, a different quantity. So each of those entries are your detail lines. Now what's the question asking for? The question wants a count of the number of order detail lines in that table for a particular date, for the month of April 2003. So I'll walk you through this one. And so let's close this. Create, query design once again. And we need order details, yes. Now, the problem is order details does not have anything related to order date. So, we need another table for that. I think orders contains order date. Yes, it does. Let's add that in. Right click, show table to bring that back up. I'm going to add in orders. Let's go in exactly the same order that the question does. Report the order ID. Order date. And a count of the number of order detail lines. So, what does this mean exactly? That for each order ID, how many times does it appear? So, the number of order detail lines for the order 10248 is 5. How did I get that? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Just count the number of instances that one particular order ID turns up. So, what I would do is let's call it total. Table order details. In design, I'm going to click on totals. And this time around, instead of sum, I'm going to select count. And I'm going to add the date criterion. So over here it says during April 2003. Easiest way to do that would be between, since it's a date, enclose it in hashtags 2003 and 30 days in April, so that. And if all goes well, this will work. So, if you notice, it's listed out order IDs and listed out the count of the number of times each order ID appears in the order details table. Now, how are you going to submit this as part of your assignment? So first step, once you're done with the QBE, you're going to take a screenshot of this, and please take note of expanding all the fields so that everything is visible before you do. You can use the snipping tool, or you can just use print screen. You're going to paste that first in your student answer document and just paste the relevant bits and make it readable. After this, you're going to paste the results that you got. So head to the results view, copy and paste everything. It doesn't matter if the result set is long, paste it in. and you would do this for all the other questions as well.
So wait, do you want the design to use CNIT as well?
Yes. Okay, so now that you pasted the results in, save the query. So so this was question 8 from your assignment, so it will be lab 10, question 8. And unfortunately, I already did that in the previous lab, so call it something else. If you did everything correctly, whatever you said will appear in the queries section. So you'll be submitting the student answer document and the zip database. Now, why are we asking you to submit the database as well? Well, 2 things. One, information can be lost in the midst of copying. Screenshots can be, well, not too clear. We may not be able to read it. But if you still put in the effort, we want to give you credit for it. So we'll be going into the database and checking it out. 2, unfortunately, there have been cases where the results don't match the queries that were apparently run in the database. So we're left wondering, okay, how did they get these results? So those are the 2 reasons. So upload them. You have a whole week to work on this. You can work on it right away if you want. And that's a wrap. If you have any questions for the assignment due tonight or your ETS milestone due tomorrow, feel free to ask myself or David in the back. And yeah, that's all I got.